professional. Oh, 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 oh. A chance with a professional. With smiles is so good. A chance with a professional. Oh, 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 oh. A chance with a professional. With smiles is so good.
Do you think that Baba Obasanjo could be on the street while these Boko Haram people are doing what they are doing?
The objective of the private organization is slightly different from...
Nigeria is the most important country
of education, the collapse of culture in Nigeria. Even with cheating, we can't pass. We've not done enough. There's still more. Join us.
And you never regret that you did.
Hello and welcome. This is a chat with the professional, a show designed to x-ray the activities of professional individuals and corporate bodies. As usual, I'm Martin Sobu and I'm sure glad to be with you. Today, once again, we are reaching you from the United States of America, Houston to be precise. And we are going to be discussing law practice, especially as it affects immigration law. I'm going to be having a gentleman who has actually paid his dues in practice as an attorney in the United States of America. He indeed has lived in the United States for over 30 years. So I'm sure you will agree with me that he is indeed an authority in the subject matter. So don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. And by the time I return, I'll be introducing my guest. Please stay. Today, like I mentioned to you in my introduction, we are going to be discussing law, and that's as it affects African migrants living abroad. And like I also mentioned today, I have the pleasure of the company of someone who has seen it all, coming into the United States of America as a very young man, and has lived practically all his adult life in the United States of America. He is an attorney, and you now join me as I welcome to the show, Frank Mba. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Wu.
You've lived in America for over 30 years now, and what comes to my mind is you've spent, if you like, practically 3/4 of your life in America.
Yes.
Things weren't this tough in Nigeria when you left.
Not at all.
And I'm wondering what was the motivating factor when you came to America?
Well, I'll give that glory to my older brother,
Okay.
Professor Ikemba,
Okay.
who is also now, living in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan on coming here,
Okay.
but he said, I would like you to come here. I believe you can study here, pursue your dream of always trying to be an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
At that time I was really in IMT.
Okay.
So once I got through the OND in accounting,
Mm-hmm.
I did my little service over there, and then I joined him over here. So it wasn't something like now where everybody is really struggling and fighting to come over to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, it was basically to come here and study, and
Okay.
then go back.
Go back.
So I just seized on that opportunity. He did everything, and then just I didn't do much like now. Now you have to probably sell your houses, do all this and do all that. I didn't do all that. I was quietly, just there trying to do my own thing when he said, I think it would be a good idea. So I took his words, and the rest was history, like this.
And then you got here and got stuck. Why didn't you come back home?
Well, I got here, honestly, when I got here, I did what I was supposed to do here.
Okay.
Once I got here, I went into school.
Mm-hmm.
I completed, additional 2 years to get my first degree in business management plus accounting.
Mm-hmm.
I went to graduate school I did criminal justice, and then from there I went to law school.
Okay.
By the time I got out, from law school, there were offers
Okay.
for me. You know that when you practice or when you study law here, it's different from what you do over there in Nigeria. So my going back there, meaning I have to start all over.
All over.
I have to go to law school
Law
and do
school
all that.
and be called to
And
that.
then, as a young guy looking at jobs, facing me, and trying to make a living,
Yes.
I just decided to dabble into it, to start practicing here. And by that time, honestly, things were still good in our country, not compared to what we have now.
There's something you just said a couple of seconds ago, and that's you having to complete another 2 years when you got here. Was it so easy to transfer credits from Nigeria then?
Well, that time, it really depends on the school.
Okay.
Because I remembered vividly my instructor getting out this thick book, because he asked, what school did you go to?
Yes.
I said I attended the Institute of Management and Technology, IMT.
Yes.
He went through the list and he was like, yeah, your school is recognized.
Oh, wow.
So you're going to get all your credit hours.
Wow.
So I was given all my credit hours.
Amazing.
Some of the subjects that I have to redo was just because he suggested that I do that for my own benefits,
Okay.
which was something like a computer. Because, we did,
of course, we're back.
I did all these computers and made my A's and all that without touching one, not even knowing what it looked like. So when he was saying that, I argued a little bit with him, like, why should I? This is a class, a subject that I made an A. Why should I go back and start doing all that? And I never forgot that story. He took me to a computer lab and, I sat down. He said, okay, go ahead, turn it on, let's start. I want you to see what you can do. And it took me a few minutes looking for the button to turn it on. So that it really showed me that I needed to do that.
Yes.
So, but besides that, every other one, it was basically the same. So I didn't have issues with other classes.
Yeah.
So, but yes, IMT was there. So they gave me all my hours, so I didn't have to do all the full 4 years. I just did additional 2 years, and that was it.
Amazing. That's amazing. Now, you've practiced now for over 2 decades as an attorney, and we all know that not just people coming from Nigeria, but migrants from the third world, if you like, always face challenges when they move over to this country. Even those with no criminal records or who are not criminally minded eventually fidget and run into problems. Now, I haven't practiced this long because I'm aware you are into immigration law.
Yes.
What would be your take on migration from Nigeria or Africa, as it were, to a country like America, for the young ones who are probably not prepared for the challenges that await them here?
Well, what I've really noticed is that people are given the wrong impression of what it means and what it takes to get into the United States. And it's very technical if you look at it from the legal point. Because a lot of people think, number one, that once you get a visa, then that means you can just get into the United States. Technically, that's not what it is. A visa is just like knocking on the door. And what that means is that when you get to the port of entry, they still have to certify you and be certified and then be satisfied with themselves, that you are really okay to go into the United States. So those are two different things, and I try to explain this to our people all the time, that it doesn't mean that once you grab that visa, you get into the flight and you're in the United States. You still have to go through the process when you get to your port of entry. But people coming in here, I've had all kinds of stories. Some people told me that they were informed that once you get in here, they're going to give you an apartment, furnished, there's a job waiting for you, and all that. And I respond by telling them, I've been here long enough that if such a thing exists, believe me, I'll be the first to know about it.
Yes.
You know, you come in here, even when you get in here with the lottery, you still have to come in here, work hard, persevere to be able to make it. And our young folks that come here, sometimes when they get here, they don't understand that.
Yeah.
That this country is all about hard work.
Hard work.
You have to just get focused on what you want to do. I mean, the parts are always there for you to take. You want to take the good one, or you want to take the bad one.
Yeah.
You want to take the right one or the wrong one. But the thing is that once you're in here, honestly, the sky is the limit for you.
Okay.
This is one country, as far as immigration law is concerned, that is the best when you compare it to every other country, be it Europe, Asia, or anywhere. Because if you get in here, the steps are already laid out.
Okay.
If you follow them, believe me, you won't have problems.
Okay. Now, what you just said is instructive because you are, in other words, implying that the scrutiny you go through at the port of entry is similar to, if not even tougher than what you go through at the embassy during your interview for the visa. Because I've had situations where people say, you know, they got to the airport in US and they were turned back and they begin to attribute it to witchcraft or somebody. So, you know, it's one of those things, one of those challenges that we have back home. And you also talked about what you need to do when you get here. There's also this erroneous impression that once you have a visa, you can always come in and throw it away and continue to stay. What would you have to say to our young ones so that they clearly understand what it takes, that if you default, you're probably going to run into problems?
Yes, you know, you see, with technology and with experience and everything, if you recall, there was a time when people go to the embassy, if they don't get a visa, they just go back and get a new passport. Okay, it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
Because when you go there now, they take your fingerprints and all that, so it stays there forever. I don't care how many times you try to change your passport, your fingerprint, you're not gonna cut it off. So when they give you that form you fill out at the embassy, you need to be very conscious of it. It also stays as a record even when you get in here. So if you say that, let's say for example that you were married when you filled out that form, then you get back here, all of a sudden you're trying to adjust your status, and then you say you're not married. Those things gonna clash, because eventually they have to put that information up, and then by that you're already lying, and that alone can stop you from adjusting your status. Now, when you're issued a visa, you get into United States, you are admitted into United States. By that I mean after you've gone through the port of entry, through the immigration and all that, you are admitted into United States. They usually will assign you a certain period to stay here. I always let people know, try to leave on or before that date. That gives you the chance to come back again, especially if you have a multiple visa. Again, people think that when they have a multiple visa, that within that 2 years, you just get up and come into the United States. No. Yes, you don't have to go back to the embassy again. That's what it means. You still have to have a reason for coming to the United States. You still have to go through the port of entry. And if for any reason you overstay that time they gave you at the port of entry, that can bar you from coming back here for a minimum of 10 years. And then after that 10 years, when you apply again, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it right away. They might still tell you no, maybe because you overstayed before. So I tell our young folks, when they get ready to come here, they need to make sure that they come in with a purpose. They need to make sure that they have their things in order, because you're dealing with professionals. But you know, just to dwell on the issue of, you mentioned about witchcraft and all that. I've heard about that. No, it's not what it is. If you go there to the embassy, you're dealing with professionals, and they're gonna ask you pertinent questions. And based on that, they're going to make a decision whether or not to issue you a visa. Most of the time, they look at, are you coming here because you're running from the economic situation in your country? Are you coming here because you have a family here? Are you coming here because of medical, to go to school or wherever? They look at all that, and then they make that judgment. The good thing about it also is that for any reason you don't like the outcome, you also have that opportunity to file an appeal. For them to reconsider. Maybe they overlooked something, meaning the immigration officer that attended to you missed something. Maybe a document was required. The opportunity for an appeal is always there.
I am concerned because these are some of the things that have affected our image negatively, not just in the United States but in so many other developed countries. So what quickly would you want to say to these young ones in terms of how difficult it could be, and for those who have genuine reasons to regularize their stay here, what they need to know?
Well, I'm very happy that you brought up that issue, because it's an area that I get a lot of questions, you know. Yes, things are no more the same. Okay. What happened as far as immigration law in the 80s is not what is going on now.
Okay.
And you know, just like any other law, it evolves. There are changes. Sometimes, you know, it depends on the party that is in power. They enact different laws. But for you to adjust your status in the United States when you're here, there's a variety of issues involved. And there are many ways that you can do that. Okay. But most of the immigrants, a lot of times we do what they think is the easier way, which is, you know, like to get married to a US citizen. Some think, you know, is the fastest way, some things, you know, is the easiest way, but not necessarily. Because once you file after you get married to a US citizen, you still have to go to an interview. You still have to submit a lot of documents. And after you got what they call the temporary residency, is the temporary green card given to you, that will be for 2 years. After that, you have to file what is called the removal of condition. Okay? And in that removal of condition, the whole idea behind it is to prove, the burden is on you, to prove to the immigration that this marriage is bona fide, it's real, I'm still living with my wife, and you know, we're still a family. If they're satisfied with that, then they will issue you what they call the permanent residency. That one is for 10 years. It's renewable every 10 years. But the problems that our guys run into is that sometimes they get in here with the idea that they come in here maybe to a visit or to study and all that, and they decide to adjust status. And sometimes they run into people and sometimes pay them money for this purpose. That's what the immigration call, quote unquote, contractual marriage. Okay? And they call it a sham marriage. And a lot of our guys have been scammed out of this. You know, they spend all this money, pay people, and they get married to them, file their papers. Once they file papers, they will disappear. You won't see your spouse anymore. Of course, you know, the day you attend the interview, you're supposed to attend the interview with your spouse. And then you get there sometimes, they ask you different questions. And
because you don't live together.
Before you don't live together, there's no way you're going to know. Some of these questions are very intimate. And it's only questions that really husband and wife supposed to know. I mean, I'm married. And you know, there are questions you will ask me about my wife, if I don't get it right, you'll be wondering, what is going on. And if I tell you that we're living in an apartment, when actually we live in a home,
Yes.
it says a lot. So these are what we call material differences. There are little things that you might not know as a husband or wife, but there are things you ought to know.
Okay.
So those are areas that our guys get into trouble. And if this happens, let's say you got denied because the immigration believe you didn't carry that burden of showing that your marriage is real.
Yes.
If they deny you, that's a record you don't want to have.
Yeah.
But again, you need to explore other avenues. There's something we call EB5, which is for business people to
Okay.
invest. There's something we call religious worker. If you're in that area, as far as religion, for maybe 2 years,
Yeah.
you got in here and you still continue in that route, you can get adjusted. You don't have to get married to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's also what we call H1B visa, to where an employer can file for you.
Yeah.
Maybe because you have a special talent, a special skill. So I always tell them to consult an attorney that knows immigration so that you can explore different ways you have.
Yeah.
That's not the only way, but unfortunately, most people dabble into that and they get into trouble.
And they get messed up
And
for
when
life.
you get messed up, we get paid more.
Yeah. So it's good business for you.
Because that's more work to do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, enough of these legal issues. You've so much acquired knowledge here. You perhaps know the American ways of doing things much more than you know about Nigerian ways of doing things, no matter how frequent you travel to Nigeria. But what comes to my mind and what is of great importance to me is of all the knowledge you've acquired here. How much of it have you taken back home? Of course, whether you like it or not, you were born and brought up in Nigeria.
Yes.
So what have you done to ensure that the country you left many years back is perhaps better than you left it?
Well, that's a very good question again, and also very versatile. I wish we have just a special time just for this alone to talk about it, because it's an area, I'll tell you, that also interests me.
Okay.
Because once I got licensed, which was in 1994, I got licensed to practice law. I've always made sure that I play a role back home, as far as both economically, religiously, politically, and all that. You can ask anybody that knows me. Sometimes they make this joke that they see me around more than they see people that live in Enugu. Talk more of the people that live in Lagos or And what I've done is to really get involved with my community.
Okay.
And when I say that, I mean to bring it really, really home.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if every one of us that is here in the United States can make a difference in one person's life, that's big. I think the mistake a lot of us make here is waiting when we can lift up the whole of Nigeria.
Yeah.
We might not be able to do
that. Yeah.
I wish we can. But what you need to do is take it one at a time.
One at a time.
I don't care if it's one person, if it's two, if it's three. Imagine when every one of us in the United States can impact on the life of 2 or 3 people.
Yes.
That will run into millions. And by the time you know it, it will trickle down, because it has a domino effect.
Yeah.
If I uplift a family, a father and a mother, I have indirectly uplifted the life of their kids.
Yes.
So what I've been doing is I set up little groups. For instance, there's a group of women that I get involved with, and my advice and what I did was I said, here is some money for you. Okay? With this money, every one of you will be responsible for whatever amount a member has. If every one of you gets, let's say, 30,000 naira or 50,000 naira to start doing your petty trading, I want you also to make sure that every member is succeeding. If any member fails, I will hold you responsible, all of you responsible for that one member. Because if you make sure that what you're doing is okay, and you try to also make sure that your member is also doing the right thing, then all of you can grow together.
Yeah. I know that some people have refused, no matter what, no matter the incentive, to go to school. If they decide that they're gonna be pushing trucks or barrels or that, I can also help them through the same way. So I'm very active in my community as far as trying to give back, and I also involve the church in some of these things, because they are the ones that really get deep. There's no corner of
closer to the people.
There's no corner of our place that we don't have one thing going on about the church.
Okay, that's exciting. We don't have all the time, unfortunately, to go on with this conversation, but it doesn't matter how long we stay here. East or West, they say home is the best.
Definitely.
And nobody is going to develop Nigeria or Africa for us. Make no mistakes, the international donors, they don't love you more than they love themselves. In most cases, we hear about donations, and of course, they give you $1,000 and they make sure they collect 10,000 from you. So there's no free food anywhere. So we need this symbiotic relationship among African professionals living in all parts of the world to give back to the society that brought them to life, and ensure that the living standard of our people are indeed uplifted.
Yes.
So Frank Mba, it's indeed my pleasure having you on this show, and I hope that someday soon we'll be able to do this again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, and also a word of thanks from my own side for what you've been doing.
Okay.
Because even before now, I've heard a lot about you.
Okay.
Trying to
Thank
get
you.
professionals together to see what we can do, especially affecting our governance.
Yeah.
And I hope that you will keep doing that.
Thank
And people here, I can tell you, all they look for are people that are genuine.
Okay.
If they know that what you're doing is genuine, they will be a part of it.
All right.
Because people are worried about scamatists,
I
people
know.
are worried about if you contribute or do something,
Yes.
accountability.
Yeah.
We don't take it lightly.
I agree
So
with you.
I'm really grateful of your approach to issues and what you've been doing, to get professionals together.
Thank
and
you very
feel
much.
free anytime if I can contribute or be a part of it. Let me know.
It's all right.
Yeah.
That's gratifying enough.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the compliment. That's the much time would permit on the interview segment. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to take a short break, and by the time I return, I'll be wrapping up this show. Please stay. Seeking to promote good governance, professionalism through mentorship, and I want to believe that the young ones out there who watched Frank Mba talk on the show today must have drawn not just inspiration professionally, but good advice from him for those of you who are aspiring to migrate or to travel, particularly to the United States of America. Be informed, be aware of what you are going to face, and be prepared before leaving the country. And as the much time would permit on the show today, till next time when I come your way, I remain Martin Sobu saying stay blessed, and I'll see you again.